Hey, aren't you happy it's one day closer to Friday? I know I am. Meanwhile, Tana Mongeau gets exposed, Trisha Paytas goes off on Gabbie Hanna, and James Charles is getting sued. By the way, if you thought a corn dog was good, you haven't tried a cornfetti dog. It's artery clogging good. Irrelevant news. Joe Rogan has a profound conversation about the COVID vaccine that has a lot of people talking.
I think you should get vaccinated if you're vulnerable.
That's pretty common sense. Why are people even talking about this? This is the most boilerplate take there is.
If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person?
I have to agree with Joe right here, folks. We don't need 21-year-olds getting vaccinated. There are too many of them as is.
If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
I am so happy I get all my medical advice from Dr. Joe Rogan. By the way, folks, I'm happy to say that Dr. Joe Rogan recently helped me treat my broken femur by telling me to just walk it off. He is so good at what he does. And speaking of somebody who's really good at what they do, Nikita Dragun and her entire family showed all of us how to wear a mask.
Hi, Nikita. How are you? How's everything? I see that you're with your parents.
Hey, Javier.
He's hiding.
There's something comforting in knowing that some things will never change. Anyway, folks, Nikita also addressed the backlash that she and the Hype House have been getting ever since they announced their Netflix reality series.
Everyone had a lot to say about the Netflix show, and that's fine, but I just feel like at the end of the day, you can't get mad at people for winning and succeeding, and if you do, you're literally just like a hater.
Wiser words have never been spoken. Thank you so much, Nikita Dragun, for standing up for what's right. People are not allowed to have a critical opinion of anybody whatsoever, period.
I don't know, I've never just had that in me. I know, obviously, maybe people aren't happy that I'm in it or whatever the and I could care honestly less.
Well, good for Nikita for being completely oblivious to all the reasons that people feel hurt by her. This will never come back to bite her. And in other news, Jake Bathroom Stall has been going around Miami doing his best impression of Malibu's Most Wanted. Thank you, Jamie Kennedy, for inspiring a generation. You were truly ahead of your time. And in other Jake Paul news, Tana Mongeau Jojo, what's going on with her?
Tana, please help your girl out. I've been dealing with this since February. I never got my lingerie or a refund.
Hold on, folks. We are not accepting any Tana Mongeau slander on this show. Tana isn't even aware that that person ordered that product. In fact, it is 100% that person's fault for even ordering anything from Tana.
Okay, same. I've emailed, messaged, commented, requested money on Cash App, LMAO, everything. I've barely seen anyone post getting the lingerie anyway, so I'm like, did anyone get it? WTF.
The question isn't whether anybody got it. The real question is whether it even exists. Or was it just a publicity stunt like a marriage that two people I know got into? And in other Jake Paul news, folks, it's official. Jake Paul Sr. will be losing to Floyd Mayweather June 6th in Miami. And speaking of losing, YouTuber EDP445 and the guy who exposed him for allegedly being a P-word both lost their channels at the exact same time. And over something totally unrelated, the Frenemies podcast reacted to Jeff Wittick's accident.
To me, I would have like this endless guilt that I like messed up this guy's like life, you know, like at least his face and stuff for a while, and it took a year of his life basically because he couldn't do shit. And it's like he doesn't have like any guilt. He just went on to go do his own thing, like building a podcast studio, buying new homes.
And what else is David supposed to do, folks? Get off his bed, which is just as big as most people's bedroom, pick up the phone and see how Jeff is doing? That sounds ridiculous.
He cracked his whole skull.
But could you imagine even being there and seeing it? That alone would traumatize me for like a really long time. That's what I'm saying.
The whole vlog squad, how they all just didn't talk about this and act like it didn't happen is insane. If you were there, I would like to think that I would be supporting Jeff.
No, Ethan, you do not speak up against Daddy Dobrik. If you do, the consequences are dire. Which, if you do, you end up having to live in David's shed for a week. Which, by the way, in case you're curious, it does double as an outhouse.
You can see David. I mean, there's better shots of it. But David is operating with one hand and holding the camera in his other hand. So not only is he not licensed to be driving this excavator, he's operating it specifically dangerously.
Oh, come on. How else is David supposed to operate that excavator? Like a licensed professional? Nobody wants to watch that.
Why did he abruptly
stop? He doesn't
stop?
know how to operate an excavator.
I've heard a lot of speculation from people that know about these machines, and apparently it's a built-in safety thing when it's spinning that fast, it automatically stops because it's not supposed to go that fast.
Petition to change the machines to fit David Dobrik. If that doesn't work, then sue them to the oblivion. The world needs less excavators and more David Dobrik's. Trust me, it's better for the global economy.
Like, let's say Gabbie Hanna.
I think I hear something coming from a distance.
Hey, H3 Productions, I will definitely come accept the award for mental breakdown in person.
Gabbie Hanna is more effective than Beetlejuice, Candyman, and La Llorona. You only have to say her name once and she appears.
I'd love the opportunity to speak for myself since I'm a reoccurring topic of your show.
Oh, 100%. If Gabbie Hanna is a reoccurring topic on the Frenemies podcast, then it would only make sense for her to show up and start taking over the podcast.
I have religiously watched the podcast since the start. You are not a recurring topic. Stop reaching so hard.
Folks, I refuse to believe that Gabbie Hanna is not a recurring topic on the Frenemies podcast, because if they're not talking about Gabbie Hanna, then what else are they talking about that's not irrelevant?
They literally talk about pizza and squirting more than they talk about you.
Well, I have to say that kind of makes sense. Anyway, folks, Gabbie Hanna ended up posting a couple more tweets inviting herself onto the Frenemies podcast, and Trisha responded in a series of tweets describing how Gabbie Hanna's actions were affecting their mental health, specifically their fresh diagnosis of schizophrenia.
This is why I blocked Gabbie. She spent so much of the podcast convincing me of stuff like that I shared poetry with her. I've never shared poetry with anyone. And she said to me over and over, yes, you did. My voices in my head were triggered for weeks after I had to block.
Can you imagine if there were a block button in real life? Going to the grocery store would be a whole lot different.
Oh, and I also wanted to quickly say the things that I was wrong about, because since I couldn't sleep last night, this was all I was thinking about.
Hold on, folks. Are we getting a confession from Gabbie?
Something I was wrong about was, we definitely did not have Thanksgiving plans.
Oh, well, that's just one thing that's wrong, folks. Come on, let's give Gabbie a break.
The other thing was the stuff about poetry. You didn't send me any poetry. I sent you my poetry.
Well, I guess it's two things that are wrong. And then you had the whole STD thing, and then all the other stuff, and yeah.
That's just warped memory or, exaggerative memory because it happened so long ago, and you know what I mean? So you're absolutely right about that. Didn't mean to make you feel like you were crazy.
Well, at least Gabbie privately apologized and then publicly retracted it and doubled down on the stuff that she was saying. That makes the initial apology even more genuine.
Creating false reality for anyone is damaging, but creating a false reality and trying to convince someone that stuff happened that didn't to someone who is very open about being mentally ill for years is the most dangerous thing in the world.
Will Gabbie add this to the web series? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Anyway, folks, Trisha shared another series of tweets where they described how Gabbie's actions were affecting their mental health and giving them some very unhealthy thoughts. And they concluded it with this tweet.
Gabbie has repeatedly stated she is fine, mentally stable, and well. I am stating this right now so there's no confusion. The past 24 hours, I am not well. I am on my way to CGT right now and need immediate help, and will receive it. I will log off because now I need to.
Well, I guess Gabbie accomplished her mission, if that's really what she wanted.
Okay, so I pulled over and I don't know what else to do, so I'm gonna really make this plea, because maybe this person thinks it's a game. Maybe they think it's a back and forth that I'm into, and I'm just saying it right now. I'm not into this.
Wow, folks, that came totally out of left field. I don't know how Gabbie could have ever seen any of this coming. It's not like Trisha has been giving these warning signs for the past week.
Gabbie Hanna made TikToks last week saying I gave her great advice on a podcast, and she thanked me for being her friend and all that stuff like that. Then the next day saying that I'm a bitch.
Well, there's a perfectly good explanation for that, folks. Gabbie was just playing both sides. She wanted to make sure she had all her bases covered. After all, Gabbie was working on this ultra Machiavellian series to expose literally everyone who's ever said anything about her that she didn't like. That's why Gabbie said this on her Patreon.
I'm having a hard time. Usually when I finish a video, I never look back. Having to rewatch to re-edit is effing unterrible. I'm having a lot of second thoughts and wish I didn't announce it. Honestly, I'm feeling really down and embarrassed.
Wait, why? I see absolutely no reason for Gabbie to feel embarrassed about this whole situation. She's been handling it the best way possible. And speaking of handling things in the best way possible, Erica Costell, Jake Paul's ex-girlfriend, and James Charles have both been sued by their former assistant. And in sister's case, it was for wrongful termination. Guess the inner lawsuit got unleashed against James.
Watching the same people who screwed me over massively end up in deep scandals isn't news to me. It's karmic debt.
Well, James's assistant isn't joking about karma, folks, because since James's apology video was uploaded, the dislikes have finally overtaken the likes. Sister ratioed. Now a palate cleanser. Anyway, Data Defenders. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you like, will be another day COVID-free. Tell me in the comments down below what do you think I want to know. Check out these videos right here. They're good too. Make sure to wash your hands, taking the vaccine, and staying away from stupid people. Have an amazing day, Defenders. I love all of you. Peace.